Okay, so it is another 80s throwback episode where we jump 40 years in the past. Today we are talking about what was going on in February of 1985.
Yes.
So, Beverly Hills Cop came out at the end of January. It is still dominating the box office.
Hmm.
And to compete with it, Disney re-released Fantasia,
Yeah. Well,
which, I mean,
okay.
I've watched Fantasia a few times. Chernabog, I think, is a really cool design for a character.
Hmm.
But
It's all right.
yeah,
It's all right, man.
it was not the it movie for me for Disney. I have a best buddy from high school that Fantasia is his favorite movie from Disney.
Really?
Loves it. I could take her to leave it.
Yeah.
One of the movies that released,
Hmm.
the name didn't stand out to me, but the two lead actors and actresses did.
Yep.
Into the Night, starring Michelle Pfeiffer and Jeff Goldblum.
Hmm.
So,
Okay.
did you watch Into the Night at all?
Mm-mm. I
Did-
know it.
you know
I've
it?
seen,
Like
but
it
no,
wasn't
never sat there to watch it.
Yeah, it wasn't a chart topper either.
No,
It was
definitely
just it had two people who are now household names.
not. Hmm.
The big one.
Yes.
This is the biggin.
Yeah.
The Breakfast Club, the John Hughes movie Breakfast Club, released in February of 1985.
Very impressive. $51 million.
$51 million on a $1 million budget.
That's a good turnaround.
Originally, the studio did not want John Hughes to direct this movie.
Yeah.
He was able to convince them because he was able to limit production costs because they did all the shoots at one location.
Yeah.
And he said, if I limit it this much, can I direct this film? And they had already let him this is after the studio already let him direct 16 Candles.
Really?
So Breakfast Club was supposed to be John Hughes' directorial debut. However, he had just finished he was in the process of writing Breakfast Club and wrote 16 Candles in like 6 days. And the studio said, we want you to produce this or direct this because you directed it, you wrote it so fast. So he did 16 Candles. He then finished doing Breakfast Club and said, I want to direct this movie. They went, well, John, you just directed 16 Candles. We want somebody else's vision. And he goes, no, I wrote this. I want to direct this.
Yeah.
And the studio had no faith in him directing The Breakfast Club.
Crazy.
The only reason he got it is because he kept production costs under $1 million.
Wonder how 16 Candles did where they didn't have faith in him like that.
I think it's because 16 Candles hadn't released yet.
Oh, that's right.
Because he wrote it, directed it, and then between him directing it and it coming out, that's when they started filming Breakfast Club. But he did get to do it. And not only did John Hughes direct The Breakfast Club, but John Hughes actually stars in The Breakfast Club as well.
Yep.
So John Hughes plays Brian's father.
Correct.
So Anthony Michael Hall's character, he's the dad inside the car. And the woman who plays Anthony Michael Hall's mom is actually his real life mom, Mercedes Hall. So I thought that was just a cool little Easter egg. But something I wanted to talk about. Prior to his death,
yep,
John Hughes started penning a Breakfast Club sequel. The movie was going to take place with all the cast of characters in their 20s and 30s in detention in college. Obviously, the movie never got made.
Yeah.
He passed away before it could be done. What he wanted to do in this movie was to have all those iconic tropes of Brian being the nerd. We had Bender being like the bum. He wanted them to all be polar opposites of themselves 10 years down the line and having to reconcile with who they were then, who they are now, and how just everyone's perspective of each other played in the way that it shaped them growing up.
Yeah.
Which I think would be a very interesting premise for the movie.
Correct. But I think...
Does it need to be made?
I don't think so, man. I think Breakfast Club is one of those iconic movies that shouldn't be touched. There's some movies that are so great that shouldn't have a sequel, that should never be touched. And I think the Breakfast Club, it it ended, right? The movie ended, the characters went their own ways, and I think
That's it.
that's it. Leave it there.
Mhm.
Again, like if you think about it, right, guys, the way all the characters were, do you really think though they would have kept in touch after that detention? No, they would have went back to their
I
regular lives.
I think Molly Ringwald's character and Judd Apatow, not Judd
Maybe.
Apatow, who played Bender?
Um, Jesus.
Yeah, but I think Molly Ringwald's character and Bender would have continued their little farcical
Maybe,
relationship.
maybe.
I don't think I think maybe, Anthony Michael Hall and Emilio Estevez,
Hmm.
they would have for a little bit
Yeah,
because the jock needs some person
yeah.
to help him with his grades. I don't think anyone after that would have been.
No, it's one of those where I you can't touch it, man. Like I get the concept of going into the future, but just for example, you served detention in school. I
Yeah.
served detention in school.
Mhm.
We made ruckus with people that were in detention with us. How many times did you become friends?
Never.
Exactly.
Never.
Thank you very
No, I
much.
think I think that's a good point. Um, I, like that again. Breakfast Club has been parodied in other forms of media,
Correct.
and I don't think it's ever been done well.
No.
I think the only instance that I can think where like there's like an homage to Breakfast Club, and I know we've already referenced this season. It was Saban's Power Ranger movie.
Yeah.
It was very subtle. The kids were just in detention, and then they went and off and made trouble,
Yep.
and that's it. Like there's an episode of Victorious that did an episode on the Breakfast Club, and it was blah.
Yeah.
Like there really hasn't been any good even parodies. I think that the Breakfast Club, the sequel, whatever, it needs to not happen.
Yeah.
I
No,
think
definitely
touching the
not.
Breakfast Club anymore, it's going to ruin it.
Yeah. Just leave it where it's at.
But there was more than just movies in February
Hmm.
1985. There weren't any premieres for TV shows, but Dukes of Hazzard aired its final episode.
Sayonara. Thank you.
Not a fan of Dukes of Hazzard.
Mm,
I just
mm.
them Duke boys getting in trouble. That's about all I know.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah, it wasn't a big thing in my youth either.
Yeah.
But if you were a fan of Dukes of Hazzard growing up, let us
Sorry, guys.
know why. I guess
Yeah.
like, and then music was another big thing. So CDs were starting to become more of a usable form of media.
Hmm.
David Bowie,
Yeah.
he
The
released an
labyrinth.
album on CD.
Yes. For the first.
Yeah, yeah, it was he released and so actually he had released an album on CD, but pre 1985 released a second album on CD, and then his production studio or his manager was like, you know what? Let's put all of Bowie's stuff on CD. And David Bowie became the first artist to have their entire discography on compact disc,
Hmm.
which was just an interesting milestone. And that then kind of what led the ways for all these other artists
Hmm.
to put all of their backlog on CDs.
Yeah.
Now everything's on Spotify and you can just listen to what you want. But this is the big one. Tina Turner releases her debut album and earns Record of the Year and Song of the Year 2 weeks later at the Grammys for
Two
What
weeks.
Love Got to Do with It.
2 weeks.
2 weeks later.
Tell
Now,
me, tell me that wasn't bought by Ike.
it wasn't. That was not bought by Ike Turner.
No, you don't think so?
No.
2 weeks is kind of fast for
No,
someone to
dude,
win.
Dude, have you not?
I get it. I mean,
So, I mean, Ike beat the crap out of Tina, dude.
I know.
So
I know.
for all the time that Tina Turner was with Ike, he did not want her putting out her own album.
Really?
No, like he would, but it was always about Ike and Tina, Ike and Tina.
Hmm.
And when Tina started getting her own notoriety, Ike did not like that. So Tina, after she finally got away from Ike, didn't have a music career, wasn't singing, wasn't doing anything, was just covered with bills, could not pay them.
Yeah.
And then finally, someone said, "Why don't you get back in the studio?" And she did. And that's when she started recording this album. It's technically 1984 that she
Yeah.
released the single "What's Love Got to Do with It."
And it's just
It,
crazy. 2 weeks is kind of
yeah. I mean, she had a phenomenal musical career
correct.
pre her solo gig. But this is just, I mean, it goes to show that Tina Turner is a dominant musical force.
Yes. Yeah.
But what do you say we get into our 1980s trivia before we have any more technical difficulties?
Yeah, let's do it.